Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining tonight. It'd be lovely to know where you're all from and who's on here. So please type in and let us know, which would be great. But I'm going to talk tonight about eggs and embryos and mitochondrial health. We're hearing a lot more lately about mitochondrial health. And so I just want to explain to you how I really feel it can make a difference to eggs and to sperm. Great. I'm sure many of you watching this know who I am. I'm Zita West. I'm a midwife, an acupuncturist. I was founder of Zita West Clinics, which I have left a couple of years ago. Um, I've been a midwife for over 40 years, an acupuncturist for over 25 years. I'm an author of many, many books, and I'm writing another one at the moment, which is going to be out next year, which I'm excited about. I'm a mother and a grandmother, and I've helped thousands of couples through the years to get pregnant. And my approach has always been about mind, body, and spirit and a holistic approach. So looking at mainstream medicine, but looking at therapies, nutrition, diet, etc., that work within that and helping women and couples to plan ahead. Okay. So what is mitochondria? Mitochondria is being talked about a lot at the moment because it's the powerhouse of the cell. It's the energy of the cell. And these are tiny structures in every cell that converts nutrients into usable energy, ATP that's called. And reproduction is really energy intensive. When you're trying for a baby naturally, you need the energy to be able to grow an egg, ovulate an egg, and it make an embryo, but also to have the balance of hormones that got to be present at the right time and the right amount during a woman's cycle. And it's quite interesting because for a long time, the work that I've been doing, I've had quite a, not a battle, but I've been met with a lot of resistance to say that, and there's no evidence for supplements, there's no evidence for nutrition, there's no evidence for acupuncture. And what I'm really pleased about now, the tide is turning, and there is evidence for many of the things I've been saying for such a long time. And energy fertility, natural fertility, and going through IVF, it requires energy. And one of the questions I always ask when I see a woman is, how much energy have you got? Have you got the energy to do another cycle? And I'm not just talking here about physical energy, I'm talking about nutritional energy, um, emotional energy, spiritual energy, mental energy. All of this comes into the equation. And so many of the women that I see are running on empty. And when you're tired, when you are, striving to get through IVF or doing cycle after cycle, you deplete your energy in all of these areas. So many of the women I see are literally running on empty and burning through the very nutrients they need and the energy they require to get pregnant naturally or go through an IVF cycle. So, one of the most important things for mitochondrial energy is ubiquinol. Now, I've been using ubiquinol for a long, long time in the clinic, and I'm still using it long before there was any evidence to support its use. But there are two different types. There is ubiquinone, and that is converted and requires converted in order to be active. And there's ubiquinol, which is the direct form of coenzyme Q10 that naturally occurs in our body. It doesn't need any conversion. Now, the reason that it's so important is really it is the spark of life. It's the spark of energy that's required at cellular level. And mitochondria are like tiny, tiny batteries. And there are about 600,000 in a cell, which is incredible because the ovary, the egg cell, is the largest cell in the body. And it requires, when you realize what it has to do, it has to sort of like divide, make an embryo. That is really energy intensive. And if you haven't got the energy to do that, the poorer the chances are for natural IVF or natural pregnancy or IVF to be able to work. So IVF isn't just about a medical process, it's a metabolic marathon. And I'm going to sort of talk tonight about the energy that's required for that. Um, okay, here, let me have a look. So, one of the questions that gets asked up and down the country in every IVF clinic is, can I improve my eggs or my partner's sperm? And the answer, I'm hoping up until now, has always been no, there's nothing you can do. You're born with all the eggs you're ever going to possess. They're genetically determined. You can't do anything about it. And I think we've been feeding women, this narrative for too long now, when we know there's now new science around for mitochondrial health and epigenetics, which I'm going to talk about. Um, and we also know that that environment in which the egg grows over 150 days, or when you're doing IVF altogether, to produce 12 or 15 eggs, the environment that the egg is growing in is affected by your lifestyle, your nutrition, everything that is going to give quality to that egg. So this story needs to shift, the narrative needs to shift because there's a lot you can do now to improve eggs and sperm. Okay, so the egg is the largest cell in the body. It's 550 times larger than the sperm. And like I said earlier, it has 600,000 mitochondria. And when you're going through IVF, for a lot of women that I see, they never come in full of life when they're starting IVF. They're usually anxious, they're concerned about what the outcome's going to be. They're taking a lot on, not just with all the signs the forms you've got to fill in, but you're pushing your body to produce to 10 to 15 eggs. And it's like a marathon all happening at the same time, a metabolic marathon happening at the same time when you're trying to produce these eggs. Now, if you don't have the energy to produce the eggs, and you've not got the fuel to be able to do that, it's going to make a difference to the outcome. And we're starting to see that now a lot more with women with IVF failures, with low AMH, poor responders, etc. So it really is looking at the cellular story about how you can improve eggs and sperm. The other really important thing is, which I find fascinating, is the mitochondrial DNA, small 37 genes, is inherited from the mother. So you're passing this mitochondrial energy, down the line. And there is sort of studies doing now to show that, mitochondrial energy is fragile. It's damaged by stress, toxins, and age. It's also damaged by not having enough energy in the cell, chromosomal errors, miscarriages, IVF failures. But now we're seeing that this is really, really important, and the things that can be done with your lifestyle, with the nutrients you take, the supplements, etc. So it's all becoming increasingly important, and I'm hopefully soon we'll be able to measure mitochondria. You can do ubiquinol, you can test for ubiquinol in the blood, and there are certain clinics that can test for mitochondrial DNA, but these are specialist clinics. But I think in the future this will be part of the process. So when you look at epigenetics, I mean, it does take 90 to 100 days for an egg to grow and to mature, and 70 to 90 days for the sperm. And so what epigenetics means is that you've got a window in that time when the egg and the sperm are growing and maturing to reduce free radical damage, to optimize the hormones, to enhance mitochondrial function, which is all going to help increase your chances of optimizing your egg and sperm through trying naturally or through going through IVF. Okay. So the ecosystem in which the egg lives is surrounded by the follicular fluid, and that is influenced by vitamin D via myoinositol, but also if you're stressed, if you've got inflammation, which many women do, or any underlying factors such as PCOS, endometriosis, autoimmune is going to cause more inflammation in the body and more damage to the eggs. So it's important to sort of look at absolutely everything, not just one factor. I'm going to come on and talk about the eggs as we move along here. Okay. So at the end of this, I want to sort of like talk about a 3-month plan action for IVF. Very often, we start women at 4 to 6 weeks. The longer you can prepare for IVF, the better the outcome. Again, it's not just preparing with nutrients and diet. It's looking at your stress levels. It's looking at creating a plan and a timetable. It's looking at not trying to do everything at once. And the amount of women that I see that are moving house, they've got a really, really busy job, they're living out of microwave. You've got to focus your energy on this and you've got to sort of give yourself the best chance to make this cycle or the next cycle work for you. Right, so mitochondrial support optimizes IVF, it doesn't replace it. And so, what we're starting to see is it's really important for women that are over 35, that have got a low AMH, that have had failed IVFs or miscarriages, that have got PCOS, because again, you're producing a lot of immature eggs with PCOS, endometriosis, or if you're planning to freeze your eggs. Canical ubiquinol is the one that we choose because it's got the most evidence and research to support it. And as you age, especially when you get to around 40, your ubiquinol levels really drop. And people will say, why do you need to take ubiquinol? Why can't you just get it from the food you eat? A lot of the work we do at Zita West is about targeted nutrients, and there are some nutrients that you cannot get in the amount required to make a difference to eggs and sperm. And ubiquinol, Canica ubiquinol, is one of these because you would need to have 12 kgs of broccoli a day and an incredible amount of meat to be able to get the amount of nutrient you need, especially when you're going through IVF. So I actually put women on much higher doses depending on what their underlying issues are. But studies that have been done have been on 2 to 400 milligrams of ubiquinol a day pre-IVF. I'll talk a bit later as well about supporting mitochondrial health. So having omega-3, vitamin D, magnesium and zinc are all going to be part of supporting the mitochondria. For men as well, with sperm, low motility, low count, high DNA fragmentation, and usually have a test to see this, it's starting at 200 milligrams of ubiquinol a day, but also looking at mitochondrial health support with carnitine and zinc. And it's definitely worth doing this. There's more and more studies and research to show that it helps mature eggs, it helps with fertilization, embryo quality, and implantation. So, egg health, when you look at the egg, and I've said before that it's the largest cell in the body, different components of the egg require different nutrients. So, you've got the follicular fluid, which is really rich in antioxidants, but also myo-inositol and vitamin D. And that bathes and helps mature and nourish the egg as it's growing. And then you've got the cytoplasm and the mitochondria, which are the powerhouse and the energy for the eggs, which I've talked about. And then you've got the nucleus, which is really, really rich in B vitamins. So these are all things that are going to support you as you're trying naturally or if you're going through IVF. And some of these nutrients, like omega-3, like vitamin D and ubiquinol, you cannot get enough from diet alone. So it's important that you take more of these nutrients when you're going through. And if you're stressed and if you're busy and you're exhausted and you're not sleeping, you are going to be burning through the exact nutrients you need that are going to help you to optimize sperm and egg health. So the importance of ubiquinol for female fertility, it may protect the ovarian reserve by counteracting mitochondrial aging. It improves eggs and mitochondrial function. It's also an antioxidant itself. So it's really, really key. So if you're going through IVF, you want higher fertilization rates, better, higher quality embryos, and ubiquinol is going to help with this. For sperm health, men are really fortunate. They're producing sperm 24/7, and it's the quality of that sperm that is really, really, really key. And where ubiquinol comes in here, it's very important for helping the sperm to be able to swim. They need energy to be able to swim. They also need vitamin D for immune, and vitamin D is on the receptors of sperm and egg. Needs omega-3 DHA for the cell membrane to make those membranes fluid. Folate, not folic acid, for the nucleus. It's the same with the eggs. Probiotics, which I will talk about for vaginal health and sperm health. Different probiotics, lactobacillus for vaginal health and rasmosis for sperm health, which I'll come on to talk about. So for men and coenzyme Q10, it's concentrated in the mitochondria in the mid piece of the sperm, and it requires energy. And sperm are reliant on energy to be able to swim to get to that egg. And there's a strong correlation between sperm count, motility, and coenzyme Q10 content in semen analysis. So really worth taking if there are sperm issues. The other thing is that mindset matters. I've always believed that um, fertility is a whole body event. It's not just something that happens in the fallopian tubes. And so we're talking about these nutrients of sperm and eggs, but they also matter for brain health, for gut health as well. And so, looking at your diet, your lifestyle, but also looking at your stress management, especially in the lead up to IVF. Because if you're stressed, you're going to leach nutrients, but also you're going to have cortisol, adrenaline, various stress hormones that are going to have an impact on the signals for the eggs and the sperm. So, moderate exercise, manage your stress with acupuncture, hypnotherapy. There are many, many treatments that you can have, massages, reflexology. And think about that mind body connection as well. Yoga, breath work, all of these are really good to incorporate into your daily routine before going down an IVF route, or if you're trying naturally for a baby. So looking at your diet, I mean, there's so much information out there, but whole grains and carbohydrates, it's following a Mediterranean diet. So, having lower carbohydrates, lots and lots of fruit, and vegetables, looking at protein, which is really important for growing eggs and sperm. And if you're going through IVF, you are going to require more protein. Like I said earlier, it's like a metabolic marathon. So you've got to have as much as you can. It's going to help you grow the eggs, and protein's important for that. Protein powder also. We do a collagen powder, which is good to take, especially if you're going through IVF. And then you've got your fats and your oily fish. Now, it's very difficult to get the amount of oil from fish as opposed to taking a supplement. So if you're not eating fish, then there are algae equivalents of omega-3 that you can get from supplements. So, what supports mitochondrial health beyond ubiquinol? Lots of nutrients need cofactors. They need things that are going to enhance how they're performing. So, B vitamins, really, really, really key. B1, B2, B3, all of these. They're in many of the supplements you take, especially folate. Magnesium is another really good supplement to take. Get it from your diet as well if you can to help with mitochondrial support. L-carnitine is an amino acid which is also supportive. Alpha lipoic acid NAC. I'm just reading out a list here, but you can see what's required. Polyphenols from blueberries and, blue foods are also really, really key. So it's not just looking at one thing, ubiquinol, it's looking at everything else that you can use that's going to enhance your mitochondrial health. So why do these nutrients matter? Increasing ATP production, that's the energy for the cell, improving fuel transport into the mitochondria, protecting the mitochondria from oxidative stress, free radicals, strengthening the mitochondrial membranes, activating mitochondrial repair and renewal. I said earlier that they're quite fragile, supporting enzyme function. Improving oxygen utilization, which is really, really key, and reducing inflammation. Okay. So the role of antioxidants is to support the cell membranes and also to help with inflammation. And they're mainly available from lots and lots of different coloured foods, and they are present in supplements as well. And when you're going through IVF or trying naturally, it's really important removing, poor food, processed foods, toxins, etc. Really increasing nutrient-rich foods, Mediterranean style diet, lots and lots of oils, managing your stress, but also looking at your gut health and the vaginal microbiome, because the gut, so many women have got IBS, they've got leaky guts, they have got constipation, diarrhea. And when you think if you're trying naturally, the food you're eating is making hormones, it's making the hormones that you need to produce. But if you're not absorbing those nutrients, it's not going to help your fertility journey. So probiotics for the gut, but also the vaginal and the sperm microbiome are increasingly important. Semen microbiome can help increase some of the parameters for the sperm, and the vaginal microbiome is really important around implantation. So look into those as well. So we do lots and lots of different supplements. I'm not going to talk about all these supplements tonight, but they're available in kits. So we've got them for egg freezing, just starting to try. We have them for IVF. Um, we have them for male fertility as well and for pregnancy. And they all include the key nutrients that you need. And then we do a range for the men as well, where we've got Vitaseed, which is really excellent if the sperm is really poor, because it contains more of the nutrients that I've mentioned tonight to help with optimizing sperm health. Then we've got Canica, that ubiquinol. And again, I encourage everybody to take this. It's a really key factor when it comes to mitochondrial health. ALA, alpha lipoic acid, is a multifunctional antioxidant. So, again, it's good for mitochondrial health, reducing oxidative stress. All of these are key factors, as is NAC. You can read about all of these on the website. We've got lots of information up there about that. So lifestyle factors, there's so much now on sleep and sleep deprivation. And I know for many of you watching this, if you're going through IVF or you're trying naturally, you're going to wake up probably at 3 o'clock in the morning, really concerned about everything. But sleep hygiene is really important. Not having your iPads in the bedroom, your phones, etc. Just doing the best you can to conserve your energy and build your reserves. Stable blood sugar. Women are ruled by their moods, their foods, and their hormones. So very often, when you get to the PMS stage, you're craving sugar, etc. But sugar is damaging to eggs and to sperm. So managing your blood sugar is really important. Cutting out sweets, sugar, not having snacks in between meals, doing everything you can to stabilize that. We talked about inflammation, so it's looking at an anti-inflammatory diet, especially if you've got underlying problems such as PCOS, endometriosis, etc. You need to be looking at dampening down the inflammatory response. And stress regulation. Stress is really, really key. Everybody manages their stress in a different way. So I talked earlier about acupuncture, about reflexology, about massage, about hypnotherapy, looking at what you can do to regulate stress because there's a lot of work done now with neuroscience, and the more stressed you are, the more stress hormones that you're producing. So you need to get those stress levels down because they are affecting your hormones, and they are having an impact on how you manage and how you get through something like IVF. I have a range of visualizations. If you go online, you can see them, and they are very much targeted at different stages. You know, the heart uterus connection is connecting back to your heart and uterus. For so many women that I see, they feel disconnected from their womb because they've had gynae operations or trauma in the past. Then there's one for conceiving naturally that goes through a visualization for every stage of your menstrual cycle. And then we've got one for IVF. Again, that is for every stage of IVF. And then there's one on mindset as well. So it's really important. We do a lot of education at Zita West. We have webinars with our nutritionists. We have a free 15-minute consultation on nutrition if you want to know about supplements. This isn't a medical consultation. It's purely to tell you and suggest which supplements that you might need to take. You can book a consultation with our nutritionists, Rebecca or Isabel, at any time. And then I do consultations as well. If you want to book a consultation with me, please scan on this QR code as well. So now we're going to go on to questions. I hope that that helped you all understand. Right, the question here is for women with PCOS, what impact does insulin resistance have on mitochondrial energy and what can be done to mitigate this? It's very difficult to answer this question about PCOS because I don't know how severe the PCOS is or what your blood sugars, etc., are, or whether you're on any drugs such as metformin or myo-inositol, which all can help with PCOS. But with PCOS, you are producing lots of eggs and lots of immature eggs. And so with something like ubiquinol, it's all about energy. So I would think it's well worth taking to see if it does make a difference. And it won't have an impact on the metformin or any myo-inositol that you might be on, and diet as well, as I'm sure balancing your blood sugar is a very important part of this. I've seen that mitochondrial issues cause low maturation, which is more common in older women. However, I have 100% maturity and great fertilization with donor sperm. The eggs virtually appear to be great to the embryologist, yet my embryos are extremely fragmented by day 3 and only 20% make it to blastocyst, to go on then to go through to PGTA. What could cause problems such as low blastocyst rate and what could help? I prepped with myo-inositol and ubiquinol for a year before I started IVF at 36, and now I'm 39. Well, that's a long time to be doing things. It depends on how much you're on. I don't know whether you're on a low dose or not, but I would certainly think of increasing the dose and looking at mitochondrial support with some of the other supplements if you haven't already done this. Can you show me another question? Okay, I have the IVF Ultimate Pack, which doesn't include ALL. Should I buy that too? Yes, I would. If you're going through IVF, I would get that as part of the Ultimate Pack, definitely. What probiotic do you recommend for gut and vaginal microbiome? Certainly for the vaginal microbiome, the microbiomes have different, sorry, Lucy, I need that back down. The microbiomes have different, they're like ecosystems, so they rely on different probiotics. You don't take the same for every part of the body, like the oral microbiome, the gut. So with the vaginal microbiome, it would be lactobacillus, and we have that on FemCeive. And for the male microbiome, it would be rasmosis, which is on our Mensieve. And for the gut microbiome, it's looking at taking, I don't know, if there's any underlying issues going on, but things like Culturelle are a very good probiotic to take for the gut and overall health. But fertility does start in the gut. So if you've got issues, you need to really work on your gut to help with that. Do you propose consultation and blood testing to check for mutations that affect the absorption of these and see if we need higher doses, e.g., NAC, LAC, release heavy metals? And they made me very sick. I have homocysteine, MTHFR, so issues with B vitamins, methylation, and glutathione. No, if you've got MTHFR, that is a different that is completely different, and you're absolutely right to bring this up. What's important with MTHFR as well are the methylation pathways, and so not taking folic acid, folate is much better, but you do need some specialist help with that. So it might be worth speaking to one of our nutritionists to talk about that.
It's an interesting one that came in before. How can you help DNA frag in men? What are the causes?
Oh, right. Okay. There's a question that's come in about how do you help DNA fragmentation in men and what are the causes? So DNA fragmentation is a test that's done on men, and it picks up what the free radical damage is, or ROS. And very often it's treated with antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. But I think using something like ubiquinol, may well help here, but also looking at the sperm microbiome as well. So in addition, looking at that, what's difficult is you don't know what the test is going to show. So the sperm could look all absolutely fine, but when you do a DNA fragmentation test, the DNA fragmentation is quite high. And what that means for somebody going through IVF is that if they were planning to do, if the DNA fragmentation is high and they were planning to do IVF, it would be ICSI, where the sperm is injected, where the sperm is injected into the egg because of the the free radicals that are around. So definitely worth looking at supplements for male if the sperm DNA fragmentation.
There's one, how does weight loss affect trying to conceive? Is there a safe way of doing it before trying?
Yeah, weight loss does have an impact on trying to conceive. Being underweight or overweight definitely does impact. It impacts on hormones, so it can stop ovulation from happening. If you're going through IVF, you've got to have a certain BNI before you're allowed to go through IVF. A lot of women are now using weight loss drugs, but you need to do that under supervision of your GP or your doctor. And in some cases, women are getting pregnant, but we don't know enough yet. But weight is very, very important, definitely. There's so many questions here. I'm trying to get through as many as I can. What's this one about AMH?
Which one? Oh, this one. Is it
Yeah.
possible to improve egg health in 50s? My AMH is 0.4. Do you think I can improve my chances by taking the right nutrition and supplements?
Does that mean her AMH is 50 or she's in her 50s?
I think maybe in her 50s, AMH is 0.4.
Yeah, it's very hard. In your 50s, it's very hard to get pregnant or for IVF or anything like that to work. So I don't know what in context this question's coming through at.
Um, so this person, if you have reoccurring infections and you've tried everything, what other options are there? She's healthy, tried all probiotics, and now she's looking that she's done in Western medicine. She's looking Eastern now, is the only thing. Could it be
Does
more
it
of a spiritual
does
block?
does it say what infections?
She's taking probiotic. No, just recurring
Yeah,
infections.
I think this is a difficult one because I don't know what the recurring infections are. It's fine to take probiotics, but you might need to do a microbiome test where they're actually able to see a lot more and see what these infections are. I don't know whether you've done anything like that at all. I know it's not done in Western medicine, but it certainly can be done. There's microbiome tests that you can do.
Use an AMH one from someone in the room.
I have an AMH of 4.3 and an antral follicle count of 7. My previous IVF cycle yielded only 3 eggs and 5 follicles. What would you recommend for me? I'm already on maximum absorption Canica 400. Okay, so the AMH is low. It doesn't say here how old you are. and the antral follicle count is 7, which, isn't terrible. It does depend on your age. I would carry on with the ubiquinol, but maybe at a higher dose, but I'm reluctant to say anything without seeing a client. And also look at the mitochondrial support and the vaginal microbiome, see if that has any impact.
NK cells?
Yeah. Do you have any advice on supplements or things I can do? I have high number of NK cells. Can't see the rest of it. Which causes multiple miscarriages. It's a difficult question because there are so many reasons why a woman will miscarry. And yes, NK cells may be one of them. But what I would do is make sure you are on an anti-inflammatory diet, which is really, really important. I would take ubiquinol. I would also look at the female microbiome as well and just see what's going on there. But other things can cause stress, can cause inflammation, etc. So do absolutely everything you can. But yes, I think you should carry on doing what you're doing. 37, low AMH 1.2. Yeah, that is low, but I don't know what the antral follicle count is. But like I said in the talk, it is worth looking at ubiquinol. 1.2 is low, but you want to feel that you're doing everything you can to try, your best to improve your chances. The difficult thing about AMH, it does fluctuate, but it's never going to go up from 1.2 to 7. Um, so, try your best with your diet, your supplements and nutrition and see what happens. Okay, can you please remind me what to look for in the probiotic for male sperm health? Can't see. I'm not really unsure I understand the question. Please, can you remind me of
Maybe the
what to look
strain.
for? I don't know. If you can just make that question a bit clearer for me, that would be great. As a marathon runner, my body, as a marathon runner, I used.
My body's used to a high
Oh,
level.
right. Sorry, these questions keep flicking, so I can't see them all. As a marathon runner, I'm used to high levels of exercise, but what is the effect of a high level of exercise on egg quality when you're already used to it, as opposed to someone who isn't? I'm 38. As a marathon runner, my body, yeah, as a marathon runner, your body is used to a high level of exercise. But, I honestly think that if you're planning to do IVF or going through IVF, you shouldn't be doing a marathon in the lead up to doing IVF. It's detrimental. There are studies that have sort of talked about exercise and marathons when you're going through IVF.
I think maybe the strains. Maybe he's looking for the strains for sperm health.
Oh, right. Okay. We think you're looking for the strains. So the mensieve that we do has got Bifidobacterium longum in it and Lactobacillus rhamnosus. So I hope that answers your question. Um, I had successful mild IVF egg collection. There were 7 follicles. I got 2. I'm 45. That's really good at 45. We tried full IVF the next month, and on day 6, my scan was so poor, we abandoned the cycle. I've only had 3 tiny follicles. Why does this happen? Why does this happen? Stress. I take your supplements. This is a really difficult question because it's it's really hard. At 45, it's very difficult for IVF to work. And you do get poor and abandoned cycles, and it's nothing to do with stress, it's to do with age. Um, so, you really need to sort of try and consider what your next steps are. And I don't know what you're being advised by your doctors at the moment. Okay, what's here? I am 42. I am 42. What supplements can I take to conceive naturally? Well, this is it's a difficult one because I don't know what your AMH is or whether there's any underlying factors at all, but you are older. So I would look at omega-3, I would look at vitamin D, I would look at ubiquinol and mitochondrial health and do everything you can. And also look at the sperm as well. I don't know whether you've had tests or not, but certainly if you're 42, you don't want to hang around for too long without looking at some form of intervention. Any advice to support progesterone? Eating well, sleeping good, having weekly acupuncture, tried castor oil packs and moxa too, as body temperature is also low.
35.
Oh, right, she's 35. It's very difficult with progesterone is a hormone. You can only support hormones with hormones. So, cofactors don't really help here. Can I just get back to that one?
Yeah.
Okay. It's good that you're taking supplements and you're doing acupuncture and all of that. If your body temperature's low, it might be worth checking your thyroid to see if there's anything going on there. But again, if your progesterone levels are low, it may be an indication that you're not ovulating. So all of those things need to be checked. Is DHEA and omega-3 good to take for PCOS and high AMH age 32? I'm not sure whether you mean DHEA or whether you mean DHA. DHEA is a hormone and it's used a lot for women that are much older than you at 32 with poor AMH and poor egg quality. So I don't think it's something that you should be on at 32. Um, Especially with you're taking it for PCOS, especially with a high AMH, which lots of women that have got PCOS do have a high AMH because they've got a lot of follicles growing. So I think it's a difficult question to answer, and I don't know why you're on that. Yeah, okay. Um, Thank you very much. I was hoping to avoid the suppression, anti-inflammatory, you mean? Oh, right, okay. We are 40 and 47 male, two IVF, same outcome. Our blastocysts usually stop developing after day 3 with only one badly graded for implantation. I took all of the supplements you mentioned, great diet, acupuncture. What else can I do? Where to focus on the male side? Well, I think that, you'll probably been back to the hospital where you had this done or the clinic. So they are best to advise you. And anything I've said tonight, if you're going through again, anything that you can increase in terms of the ubiquinol, the omega-3, also looking at the vaginal and the male microbiome, I think are well worth doing. But there's lots of reasons why this might not be happening. But I hope that you get the answers you need from the clinic. Now, I'm finishing now because there's still lots and lots of questions, and I'm sorry I can't get through them all. Um, but I hope that this has helped you in some way. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, looking at the wrong thing. I hope this has helped you in some way. The Black Friday sale is still going on. But lovely to meet you all tonight, and I hope this has helped. Okay, good night. Thank you all for listening.